Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest edition of Gills in the Blood TV, and with it, another episode of Gills in the Blood Chats 2, and it's a very special one this afternoon. I'm pleased to say, as you can all see, I'm lucky enough to be joined by none other than the gaffer, Neil Harris, fresh from making a new edition, Neil. So first of all, yes, appreciate you taking the time out for what is a busy summer. The season is only 9 days away now, before we travel to Stockport. We're all very excited about that. I think it's brilliant that the club are allowing us to do this type of thing. It's very new for us. So first of all, appreciate you coming on. Like I say, appreciate Phil allowing us to do it. Just wanted to talk about your time at Gills so far. It's been a roller coaster of an 18 months, I suppose. So
could say that, yeah.
Yeah. So if we go all the way back to January 2022, you arrived on deadline day. I think your first task was to let your captain out the door as you walked in. Unfortunately, that was Carl Dempsey.
First time I met him, yeah.
And almost the last, I suppose.
Yeah.
We were 10 points from safety. From a fan perspective, we were like, why is this bloke coming out of the Championship 12 months ago? Why us, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, well, firstly, doing this is just another step in the right direction. We're hoping for the football club, just trying to interact with the fan base and the fact that it's the modern world, isn't it? The world's changed, that podcasts and fans having questions for people, and just transparency. You only really get transparency from me whether you see me in the street, whether I see you at games or fans forums, etc., or it's through the press.
Of course.
Which sometimes the press, we have good relationships with, and you probably think, oh, I'll ask the same questions.
And like you say, there's a lot more press to deal with now, isn't there? There's different avenues that it comes from as well. Used to be pick up the newspaper. Yeah,
so we want, and I'm really comfortable with it. Being honest and open. So back to question, why Gillingham? It ticked a lot of boxes for me. More than anything, the challenge. I didn't feel that. I knew a lot of the ins and outs of the club. Okay. I took some information from different sources. I knew it was in a bad way, but I also knew the potential. I would also, where Paul Scully was very honest, was I knew the fact that he was trying to sell the club, and I knew some interested parties, and I knew somebody interested that were very interested and very serious, which wasn't the Gallisons at the time. So I knew the potential of it. So it was really a free hit when I came in. We all knew we was going to get relegated.
Yeah.
We nearly achieved a miracle. Didn't materialise. What I wasn't prepared for was that summer. What I wasn't prepared for was that summer with the lowest budget in the Football League, and the fact that the infrastructure hadn't built, just because we, as a football club, it just couldn't afford to build it. So no recruitment department, no director of football, nothing to do with the recruitment other than just myself and a mobile phone, which isn't the way it happens in the Kent Senior League, let alone in the Football
Club. Yeah.
So. So I wasn't prepared for that, and that was really hard. And the first sort of 5-6 months of last year, well, from probably relegation onwards, was a real tough period. But in the back of my mind was always the takeover and the Gallisons,
the bigger picture,
coming in, and because I was in the loop all the time, and sort of Paul was asking me to take meetings and things to try and support sort of moving the club on. I always pretty much knew where it was. So as we got towards Christmas, I was, results got worse, couldn't score a goal. The feeling from the fan base of the club was getting lower and lower. But I always knew there was a golden sky.
There was an end game.
Yeah, and that's why I was quite. And as soon as I met Brad and Shannon for the second time, and I knew they wanted to come in, I was a lot more relaxed.
I remember Brad replying to a tweet of mine at the time, and at the time I just thought it was a parody account, because I changed my name to Nils in the Blood, because it was either laugh or cry type situation. So he replied and said, what would it take for you to change your name back? A goal, a win, or a takeover? And I said, I'll take any of the above. Obviously, and then it all happened, and he then gave himself a profile picture.
A takeover was more realistic than a goal.
Well, yeah, it was, I didn't know whether he was taking over or he was going to become our centre forward, to be quite fair. You've mentioned infrastructure when you came in. I know you alluded to it when you first took over. Now, 18 months down the line, we're in a healthier position. Can you expand on that, on just how bad it was? And how much it's improved as well, more importantly?
I don't... yeah, I don't want to look too far back and sort of like be too negative and drag up the past, because we are in a new dawn.
Of course, yeah.
But it was a difficult period, and it was a difficult period for everybody connected to the football club, and the club was at a real low. But where it's at now is in a very healthy position, and not just with support of Brad and Shannon and how miraculously brilliant they've been, but the infrastructure has really took off, and it just things like, you know, you talk about your match day experience and how far that's come. You talk about just the kiosk being open.
Yeah, exactly. And just getting a bit of food and a choice of drinks makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that you can get in and around the kiosk, and if you get here early and it's peeing down with rain, you don't want to sit in the stand. You want to be somewhere in the dry.
Of course,
you want to be warm. And the factory being open and a real buzz to it, it has completely changed. But that's the same in the building. And that's the same upstairs in the offices as well. And more infrastructure when it comes to more people in the sales team, commercial team, ticket. You actually ring the ticket office, answers the phone. Yeah, little things like that. And I know, because I've got friends who are fans, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
So I know these things, but then from my perspective, you know, it's not me and a mobile phone in this transfer window or in January.
No, not at all. No.
It was Kelly, Jackie, and Andy Hessenthaler, and then recruitment guys behind them that have worked in the game for a long time. So the infrastructure's there. And then obviously the financial support becomes really key as well. You go from sort of bottom budget to probably midway at sort of January time, and it just enables you to, you know, build the playing staff, which then helps you attract players in the next window.
Of course.
Helps you build a B team, which ultimately gives you your own production line for lads to come through, hopefully sooner rather than later. But
of course, yeah, because I don't, as a fan, I think there's nothing better than seeing one of, you know, we all like singing He's One of Our Own.
Yeah.
Jack Tucker for a while, but
yeah.
I think you've got to go back to probably like Bradley Dack a few years ago to have the last real big success.
Yeah, yeah. And fans want it, but owners want it. And ultimately, I love it, makes me proud. When I'm picking a team and you've got a lad who's been in the team since...
Because if you've seen him grow from sort of 15, 16, 17, right up to the first team,
yeah. Yeah, so we all want that, but we all understand that takes a little bit of time. But
of course,
you know, we're certainly moving that in the right direction.
You said you don't want to dwell on the negativity, which is fine, and I don't want to either, because it weren't a fun time. But yeah, there is a but. You knew that was coming. I could have gone however and gone fancy, but you did an interview on Sky Sports after the final day defeat against Rotherham, and you were quite scathing of quite a few players. Quite a few of them players then stayed and played during the 22-23 campaign. I don't want to ask you about the players. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I want to ask is, just because we don't see it as fans, just how tough is it as a football manager to walk into a dressing room, team's just been relegated, and then you've got to go and do media duties and have a microphone shoved under your face 5 minutes after the game, and emotions are all incredibly raw? Because that was my personal view of that interview. It came across as very raw, very emotional.
Honest.
Maybe if you'd had half hour, an hour before you did it, would it have been slightly different, I guess, is my only question.
I wouldn't want it to be any different.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I've got to be honest, sometimes I do afterwards go, oh, I wish I'd give myself a breather. And I've learned from the harsh realities of it, learned from mistakes, i.e. FA Cup game, back at Millwall, back at the Den, and I got the microphone from the BBC shoved in my face at the final whistle, and I spoke. Never done it since. I've always said, no, give me 5 minutes, or I'll speak to you later.
Just go and breathe and then come back.
So that one at the end of the season after Rotherham, I got to be honest. No, honest, first time I've ever said it, folks. But I'm honest. There was a little bit of pre-staged note taking before that. Some things I wanted to get off my chest, believe it or not. So raw, yes, but emotion and honesty were the biggest things. And
that's a word that we've come to get used to using throughout your time with us, is honesty. And I know fans like honesty. I think players have had to get used to a manager being honest and face to face, rather than sort of fluffing it up and they're not being honest. But that's how you build respect and trust. Well, we can see it at the end of the day, can't we, as fans? We can see what's happening on the pitch. So if we get beat 3 or 4-0 and you come out and go, oh, that was all right, we're going to think, hang about, is this better right for us?
Yeah, if I'm going to do that, I've got to put some context behind it.
Exactly, but a little bit of fluffing up.
I was, the lads that stayed, I was all right with the lads that stayed. There was no issue. It was just, and ultimately the lads that stayed, they've done brilliant for me. You know, we was one point away from staying in the division, so they were brilliant for me. It was more just the fact it was the whole football club and the players had to take some responsibility in it. And I was sort of the only person who's saying that, and I'll take my share of responsibility, and I've only been here 8 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If anyone was
there
taking
wasn't a lot of people
less blame, it probably should have been you.
Yeah, and it was me just saying, right, these are the standards that I want to set. And then I had that rant, and then I couldn't do anything about it. I've had the rant, and the hardest part for me was a couple of months later, I'm going into pre-season thinking, we ain't going to be no better than last year. We're not, and I knew, I did know, but you try and hide it, and you try and battle through, and you hope. Whereas this year,
completely different.
Yeah, we will be better.
Can't have been worse. Look at the lie.
Well, from January onward, do you know what? I very rarely look at a season as 2 real half seasons, but last year was night and day, wasn't it? It was, yeah. That was, even as a fan, you must have watched the Colchester game here, Boxing Day, where they scored quite, and we were really flat. We lost 1-0.
Yeah, we was
Boxing Day, wasn't it?
Very. Yeah. It felt like everyone had eaten too much roast, didn't it?
Or drank too many beers. And then on the 14th of Jan, we played, or Leicester on the 7th, and Hartlepool a week later. Or
just a completely different. I've said it felt like, it hasn't felt like the football club's been taken over. It's almost felt like we've been given a brand new football club with a new set of staff. Like Phil sat behind me. I'm not going to blow smoke up his arse just for the sake of it, but he looks completely different in terms of walking around. Like Joe's done a brilliant job. Like you said, it goes back to the point about it's the whole football club just feels reinvigorated.
Yeah, and that was it. Energised, revigorated. Brilliant. And that was the start, and that's what's completely different. But now, obviously, what we've got to do is keep trying to drag it forward, and that's another challenge in itself. Trying to improve. It's not about improving. We had to improve. Well,
about 100%.
We're not far off. We're trying to think of a sensible number, but we had to add 30 or 40%. Whereas maybe now we've got to add, even trying to add sort of 5-10%. It's quite difficult. Once you've achieved quite a lot in a short space of time, so that's the challenge for us now, is trying to progress.
Because I assume, if you look at it in the sense of you buy players to increase by 30-40% because you're at such a low bar to start with, it's easier. Whereas now we've got to try and find very, very good players to take us over the finishing line to where we relatively want to be. Last semi-negative bit. I said at the start of last season in League Two, I thought we'd be at least semi-competitive. Obviously, that comes from just being a fan and not knowing exactly what's going on behind the scenes like you did. We've already mentioned it. We scored 6-7 goals in half a season. We were rock bottom when the takeover came. Just how tough was that for you? Because I think there was an article in the press that you spoke about how good Paul Fisher was when he was here with trying to lift your spirits. But was there stuff that you did yourself? Or was it merely that you knew the takeover was coming, so you just had to keep thinking, we've just got to see out the next 3 or 4 months and then it will change?
I think what you're really trying to say is, did I think about jacking it in? Did I think of why? Because we've had this,
maybe I've put words in your mouth.
We've had this question off air before, so no, look, I think for me, my question always was, I was more interested in my players, to be honest, and their welfare.
Okay.
And it wasn't about me. Like, it was really tough, and everyone who watches your podcast, everyone who watches the games, I'm into double figures for red cards now. I think as a player and a manager. So I'm a passionate person.
Cool.
hence the rant, and everyone sees it. Mine, I take that passion home sometimes, and I've got a beautiful wife and 3 wonderful children, and if it affects them, then I really question what I'm doing.
Of course, I think that applies to life, not just football management.
That's why I resigned at Millwall after nearly 5 years, because it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
When I left Cardiff, I was disappointed to leave Cardiff, but it was coming at the right time for family purposes. I was living away from home for pretty much 18 months. Okay. So last year, Gillingham, I was taking my disappointment home, and I said about Paul Fisher was wonderful for me because he was a great calming influence, great influence on me, and it was great just to talk to somebody real savvy mind, who was just really good guy who loves the club as a fan.
Absolutely, yeah.
So great to have him in. It was brilliant. Just so many times stopped me from tipping myself over the edge. And ultimately, I stayed through December because I'd met Brad and Shannon twice, and I knew what was coming. But also the question was to my players, really, do they feel we'd be better with a change, or do they need me?
Okay.
And at the time, I felt players needed me, or off the pitch as well as on the pitch, because they were having a real tough period of confidence. And as much as I was frustrated, I thought we were better together and try and get to a time where Brad and Shannon were in as quickly as possible, and then I knew we could build. So that's ultimately why I stayed, sort of put others probably before myself, to be honest.
So it was almost a collective, not a collective decision, obviously it comes down to you, essentially at the end, but I think it's great that you allowed your players to have at least a conversation.
Yeah, I think senior players, I think we're sort of like Sean Williams and Stuart O'Keefe, people like that, Alex McDonald, Max, I think they were disappointed where we were at and sort of embarrassed as well, but we was in that hole, and they were like, Gaffer leaving is not going to sort of help us. So that was sort of it. So that wasn't the final decision, you know, it wasn't sort of that sort of thing about packing the bag and off I go, but ultimately if I got the sense that that was the best scenario for the change room,
you'd have seriously considered it.
I'd have left, yeah.
Fair enough.
I'd have left.
No, again,
please I didn't.
Honestly, yeah. We're glad you didn't as well, I think. That takeover came. I remember being at home, I think it was 23rd of December, wasn't it? I think I just poured myself a beer thinking, I've got to go and watch the Colchester game, Boxing Day. And a strong whiskey as well, probably as well. And then the tweet came out. And I think it was like the corner flag photo that we sometimes use for sackings, but obviously this was very different. And I sort of read it twice and then thought, this is actually happening. But from a working point of view, just how good has the last 6 months been and how big a change has it been? Because it's been in a very short space of time, relatively speaking. You talk of Paul Fisher, he did a lot of stuff that made small gains in a quick period of time.
Correct.
You mentioned the match day experience, the things like the behind the Rainham end, getting the bars open, that type of thing. So at least if we don't win every week, people still want to come and enjoy the social aspect of football. But from your point of view, just, I've written down, that's why I keep looking down, I'm not being rude, my notes are down here. You've looked a totally different man since the start of January. Just how fun has it been, and how big a contrast has it been?
It's been enjoyable. That's the first word. Enjoyable. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to manage a club, like it was when I walked in on the first home game against Crewe on the Tuesday, and I think it was the 1st of Feb, 31st of January, 1st of Feb. Wherever they was to be manager since has been like that feeling again, where it felt like that excitement of the fans when we went to Lincoln and won 2-0. We thought, right, we can do this now. We went to Accrington and won.
I think Accrington was when we went 4 points clear of the drop zone. I thought that was when I started. I thought we've really got a chance. I thought,
here we go. That again, and I got to the start of January. I was thinking, well, can we really go and do this? Is the bubble going to burst somewhere? But what I decided then was, I very quickly decided that where we've been in the last sort of 4, 5, 6 months has been really difficult. I'm going to give it a right good go and enjoy it and see where it takes us, and that's what we've done. And we have enjoyed it. You know, it's not. Yes, we've won a lot of games of football. We've had brilliant records second half of the season. We feel 2 good transfer windows with hopefully still more positivity to come in this one. And then, you know, then just trying to manage expectation, trying to hit the levels that we've hit, but what I know we're going to do is we're going to enjoy it while we're doing it, because it's a pleasure to be here every day and working under Brad and Shannon's sort of flag and their guidance. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah,
really enjoyable.
It's just been, in terms of like the silly thing, like the kit reveal.
Yeah,
and we all had to walk in and Johnny Williams was stood there. That was, I mean, it was ridiculously embarrassing, but it was good fun, and it seems very Brad.
Yeah, it is, and what no one can take away from Brad and Shannon, what they've achieved in a short space of time is fantastic. But just the fact, coming from American sports, they do know what match day experience looks like.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I meant embarrassing in terms of the first time
I
met Johnny Williams. I've got a cameraman going, talk about him. And poor sod stood there in like a full-on pink kit that no one's seen before. I didn't mean Brad and Shannon are embarrassing at all. They've been a complete breath of fresh air.
I just think little things like that, just even sort of me actually coming on, actually enjoying doing this, is just, they've embraced. They've embraced the modern era, and they're willing to try things, and more than happy when Phil says to me, Neil, podcast. I'm like, let's do it. And it's like,
completely
there's no barrier or blockage, you know. It feels comfortable to ask me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it, why not?
No, not so, and myself, and I'm sure the ME7 and whoever else gets to chat to you and anyone else within the football club really appreciates it. But because it is, again, and it's part of that new sort of era and that refreshing new approach to the whole football club, which is brilliant. Obviously, expectations start to raise. I think we were the second best side from January to the final day. Only Stockport were better than us. I was lucky enough again to speak to Kenny Jackett a few weeks ago for the channel. He said the aim within the football club is promotion. I'd imagine there's probably 15, 16 other clubs think exactly the same thing at the moment. My question to you though, because Kenny sort of answered that on your behalf, is how tough is League Two now? Because before it used to be like, I suppose, almost like the neglected family member. You had the money that filtered down in the Championship, and then you had your Charltons and your Sunderlands and your Ipswich that filtered into League One. But League Two seems to be becoming more like that now. Is that just a sort of a natural progression of the modern game and the money that's filtering further down now, that it just makes all 4 divisions doubly hard compared to maybe 15, 20 years ago? Because you know more than me, being in the game.
Well, so the Premier League's the Premier League, so let's forget that. So the EFL, the 72 clubs and the 3 divisions in isolation, not disrespectful to the National League, that's slightly difficult. But the EFL, you can normally look at 1, if not 2 leagues and go, well, that might be dictated by money. Or you go and go, well, that's really open this year. So I look at last year and go, I thought League Two was a good year to get out of the league. It was a very good time to get out of the league. League One I thought was one of the best League Ones I've ever seen. And the Championship I thought was really, really poor. Really, really poor. This year I look at it and go, Championship's much better this year. League One, nowhere near as good as it was last year. And League Two is probably going to be one of the best leagues it's ever been. Yeah,
that's generally one of the look at the 2 that came up. I know you mentioned the National League, but they come up with ridiculous points tallies. They've probably got the potential to go straight through, and they're backed very well.
And the teams that have come down could be anything. But you look at the size of the club of MK Dons, and then you look at like Forest Green, for example, that's done some really good business, which has absolutely surprised me at times. But you obviously don't know what relegate teams are going to be like when we came down. I was like, oh, we're going to get back up.
And look how that went.
And
well, all 4 teams I think all struggled for pretty much most of the season, didn't they?
It can fluctuate, but this year I think it's going to be really tough. So expectation for us. So we've been quite clear. I think promotion is the aim, and I think we're right. I won't say to overly talk about it, but we're right to sort of set the bar there. That's what we want. I think anybody that thinks, fan or non-fan, that thinks, oh, Gillingham did really well second half season, they've got loads of money, which isn't necessarily true, but we did do really well.
From the horse's mouth. It's not just fans.
I can't ignore the fact we did really well. That is true.
That's fact.
Having loads and loads of money isn't necessarily true.
Got more money than we used to have.
Exactly. But where I sort of try and put a bit of reality into the fans is, and again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but we haven't got. There's easily 5 or 6 other clubs in the division that I know have got more money than us. Have got. So that just shows a little bit of context to where we're saying we want to get promoted, but reality is, right, ultimately, how do we get promoted? Is it top 3? Oh, I'd love to.
Oh, of course,
I'd love to. May the 5th, whatever the last day is, go, right, come in, let's get the beers out.
Exactly, it'd be great.
But if it's not, it's a playoff, getting to a playoff final, or winning at Wembley, let's get the beers out of that instead.
I think that's probably the greatest way to get promoted, if you can guarantee it. That's the trouble. You have to put yourself through 3 games of playoff football.
As a group, we genuinely believe, as behind the scenes, but also the players and the staff, believe that we can achieve that. We can achieve it. But don't get me wrong, during the season, we will lose 2 games in a row or 3 games in a row. And there will be a, or a, 3, and we'll start going on that. So I fully accept that, because the league this year, I think everybody will do. I don't think Stockport or Wrexham will, just because they've just gone and signed players like you wouldn't believe.
Nick Powell.
Nick, right.
Who's the lad that Wrexham have just gone and signed out of Huddersfield? Is it Will Boyle?
Yeah, I wouldn't even embarrass ourselves by putting us in those conversations, trying to get them. We didn't try and get them, by the way, no. But they're not just going to go and walk the league.
No, of course. They've still got to go out and earn the right, haven't they?
Yeah, and they will lose games of football, and they've both got to adapt at different times. So I'm not trying to dampen too much expectation, because we've carried it. And for those that have bought season tickets, thank you very much. Those that are debating it, come and do it. So if we win every game, we will have a good season and we will have enjoyment doing it. But we will be positive, and all we want to do is carry on that form the second half of the season, win as many home games as we can, and be better on the road, and then see where it takes us.
Exactly. So you can do it game by game, can't we?
Yeah.
Final question,
Yes.
because like I said, you are a busy man. You've mentioned them both already. Andy Hesse-Tyler, Kenny Jackett were both announced, I think, sort of first week of January. It was very soon after the transfer window had opened. Just how big a support have they been, and how much pressure have they taken off you that's allowed you to go and do your job as a manager over the last 6 months? Because you said when you came in, it was you and a mobile phone. You was probably football manager, chief scout, physio team man. Now you can go and allow others to do their job and their area of expertise and let you do yours.
I'm still the tea man.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not, just so you that the gaffer does make the tea and coffee. Because I make the best tea and coffee, then I think that's why I have to make the staff tea and coffee. How much support have they been? Yeah, look, mega support. Hesse's Hesse. You all know Hesse as a Gills legend. My captain when I played here. Great guy, a friend of mine for a long time, and he's just that every day, and a calming influence as well. Who's a great source of calmness for me at times when we lose, and he's like, "Nah, don't worry about you win next week." It's little things always just puts into context a defeat or whatever. And Kenny, just wealth of knowledge and experience, and again calming influence. I can't remember what game it was last year. It might have been Harrogate. We drew 0-0 at Harrogate.
Yeah, we did.
0-0.
Yeah.
I was fuming after the game that we hadn't won the game, and he came in and said, "Oh, we enjoyed that. I really enjoyed some of that. It was on the place the second half."
Did we batter them first half and then
other way round?
They battered us first half and we battered them second half. I couldn't find a goal.
I really enjoyed that, and I was like, he went, watch it back on the coach on the way home. And I watched it back on the coach on the way home. I thought, actually, we played some really good.
It was all right.
It was all right.
Just that problem about scoring goals again, which still did come back to bite us a few times.
And sometimes that little calming influence, but that's just moments. That's just sort of like that's just experience and know-how. And
you've been around the block. He's been around the block a few times.
They've both been around the block. Yeah, they've now run their tyres out on their bike. They've got to change bikes. But
it's that budget again, Gills fans. Not a car, bike.
But I think just that general support. When I said earlier, but it was me and a mobile phone last summer. Yeah. To just off that, that's their job. Director of football, head of recruitment, to make those calls, take the meetings, set things up, do the work between sort of me, a player, the board, the opponent, the opposition players club, things like that. That's their support, and it's enabled me to really enjoy my job and try and manage balance between work life and home life as well.
So it helps in that sense as well.
Important because it's sharing the workload,
of course,
which I've not had here since I took over. So again, they've been really good, and I hope we've made a really strong start as a sort of a partnership, really.
Long may it continue. Neil, it's been a real pleasure. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Really looking forward to the new season.
Yeah.
I do try. Gills fans, I hope you've enjoyed this one as much as I have listening to Neil. Please keep doing all that you do, liking, subscribing. Comment down below your thoughts for the new season. Let Neil know who we need to sign. We'll be back Saturday or Sunday with the season preview video where I predict where we're going to finish. No pressure. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.